Hi, welcome back. I'm Heather Groom, and this is High on Utah. Today, I'm actually going to talk about something other than real estate. And on this podcast, I want to start talking about some other topics that are interesting or people call me about. Because, as some of you and probably most of you know, I have a really interesting background as far as not just real estate. I've been involved in everything with education. I'm still involved in that as well as politics in the state and also nationally. And when I say politics, by the way, I usually want to clarify that a lot of times it's policy making, legislative session, laws, things that impact us. And also, I've just been involved in the community. So a lot of times people call me about different questions. They'll say, "Hey, I don't know if you know this, but how do I get a passport in a week or something like that?" So today I want to talk about something a little different. As some of you know, I've had some health issues over the last few years, nothing too serious, but I've been going down to Mexico and getting stem cells, which I know sounds pretty wild. And, I've been getting a lot of questions. I haven't posted much about it on social media, but I do have a lot of questions or people that call me and ask me, just questions about it. And so I thought today what I'd do is just tell a little bit more about my story and what stem cells kind of do for you and what it's done for me in my life, because I do have a lot of people asking. And if you have maybe some health issues, especially like Lyme disease, rheumatoid arthritis, certain things like that, then stem cells can really be a game changer. So, anyway, I'd like to just start by telling you a little bit about kind of the background leading into this. But my mom and my sister both have autoimmune issues. And I knew that I was probably predispositioned a little bit for those as well, specifically rheumatoid arthritis. And so I started to get a few symptoms a few years ago, but it wasn't major. And about a year and a half ago, my husband got laid off kind of unexpectedly. And that took a real toll on me and my health. And it was actually a very scary time. And in another episode, I think I've told that story. But it was difficult. And during that time, because I am all commission, and thanks to you for sending your clients and friends, and for you also, supporting my real estate business. I really appreciate that. And but it is sometimes a little bit difficult because you don't have the typical health insurance. You don't have a lot of steady income. And so when Brent was laid off, it was very stressful on me and just took a toll internally. I didn't have rheumatoid arthritis really physically on the outside, like some people get really swollen knees or things like that. For me, it was like my immune system was attacking itself. So I just had a lot of inflammation in my body. I could feel it in my joints. I could feel it actually around my heart, my lungs. Even my vision changed a little bit, my stomach. And it just was taking a toll. And so during that time, it was also just a really low point. We were trying to figure things out. And I was getting in, I have this little portable red light sauna, I think I bought for $500. And I would get in that sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. I was doing my phone calls from there. And it was rough. And so I knew I needed to do something different. And they had talked about putting me on even low dose chemo to just kind of kill off my immune system. And to me, and that may be for other people, but I wanted to explore other options first before going down that route. And so I had lunch with a friend one day. And he had told me, I noticed he had childhood diabetes, and he just is really fit and takes care of himself. And I noticed he didn't give himself insulin after lunch. And I asked him what he was doing, and he told me that he said, I know this sounds crazy. And I was like, hey, I love crazy, and as most of you know, that's I'm pretty open-minded that way. And he said, well, I'm going down to Mexico for stem cells. And I had heard about stem cells for years, and having a friend that actually had done it and seen how it had impacted his life. I could tell he just looked good, he felt good. and he said it was a game changer for him. And so I said, "Give me the number. I want to find out some more information about it." And so anyway, I ended up reaching out to the clinic. It's called BioAdvanced Medical, and we'll also put some information in this podcast just so that you can also find them. It's Dr. Calzada. And anyway, I ended up reaching out and went down, and it's a very smooth process. So I'm probably going to start a little website or something on how, like on your first trip, like there were a lot of things I wish I would have known before I went, but you basically fly into San Diego. There are a lot of people from Utah at this clinic, actually, probably over half of the people there. Usually I run into somebody I know or someone that we definitely always have friends in common. And so I flew into San Diego. They have a medical shuttle that picks you up right from the airport, and then it takes you over the border. They built a Marriott hotel right across the street from the clinic, and basically just from there you can walk across the street. So it was very easy. They just picked me up at the airport, and less than 30 minutes later, I was at my hotel room checking in, and I was nervous. I went down by myself. Most people do go by themselves the first time. I did run into somebody in the van that was from Utah, and she was more experienced. And she said, "Hey, I'll kind of show you the ropes and help you navigate all of this." And I was like, "Okay, that's great." So anyway, so then I checked in the next morning. Usually, you do blood work. And I was envisioning getting stem cells would be something like you're sitting in a room with an IV for, 8 hours a day. And it wasn't like that at all. There's different treatments you can do there. And then it's also like a wellness spa. And so that part was actually really cool because at this clinic, they have like lymphatic drainage massage, they have all sorts of other treatments available as well. And so that was kind of a surprise. I hadn't done a lot of research ahead of time. I just knew I was wanting to try the stem cells. And so basically, we did blood work the first morning. You meet with the doctor, they go over a plan. The other thing that I thought was very interesting that they don't really do in the States is they did a live slide. Basically, it's like what you did in eighth grade, when you tried to figure out what blood type you had, so you prick your finger. They put it on a little glass slide, they put it under a microscope, and they can tell a lot just from what's in your blood. And I did not realize that. And again, I know this may or may not be for everyone, but I was very open minded about it and wanting to understand it. But right away, they could tell I had a lot of inflammation in my body by just the way that my cells looked. I also had a little bit of bacteria in the blood, which is, everybody does have a little bit, but they can even see if you have heavy metals in your blood. And recently, actually, Brent saw that he has some of that. And they look like they're actually very pretty looking crystals, and they look like little crystals and they're floating around in your blood. But people with Lyme disease, I do not have Lyme disease. I just had the beginnings of rheumatoid arthritis, but my sister has Lyme disease, and the cells they look different. Like you can kind of see that. And so they showed me examples of different things. Um, and they basically just said, "Okay, we've got to get you healthy." And maybe I need to probably tell a little bit more, a little bit of background. When I had COVID in 2022, that's actually what set off my rheumatoid arthritis at first. So I just kind of had long COVID. Like I felt some days 80% great, some days 90%, but I never was fully 100%. I always just had inflammation. And then when Brent was laid off, just like a little bit later than that, then it just kind of threw everything into a spiral. And so going back, they also treat long COVID or people that have symptoms of that as well. And so basically, after meeting with the doctor, they basically said, "Okay, here's some things you can do," and you get to choose what things you want to do, and they give you a menu with prices, basically. So it's you can say, "Okay, I want to try the ozone therapy," and colonic, which go Google that one. That's an interesting one. Little brutal, but probably good. So they have different options of things you can do. And so I chose the stem cell IV treatment, and they cater it to basically what your blood looks like and also what things came back on in the blood tests. And so they did a variety of treatments. The IV actually is only about an hour. It's just like a standard type IV, but then they put different nutrients in. About maybe an hour, hour and a half during each day that you're there. You're usually there 3 to 4 days, and then on the fourth day, they put a little bit of stronger dose in, um, and again, I'm not a health or medical expert, so it's probably good to read online exactly that, and even ask the doctor questions. But it was very interesting. It's actually kind of social. I joke around and say we make clinic friends while we're there, so everyone just kind of knows each other. You have your treatments during the day, and then usually you talk. There's like a restaurant on the top floor there. And so, in between treatments, you can go and have a smoothie, which they make like the most amazing smoothies, these fruit smoothies. And you can eat breakfast or lunch there. And it's amazing fresh food. It's so good. I actually eat almost every meal there. And so it's amazing. Kind of you talk to people there. And then usually at night, people say, "Hey, what is everybody doing for dinner?" You're in a very safe area of Tijuana. And so, it's pretty like I felt okay going out at night. But I speak Spanish also. But I've gone out even by myself. Not always totally recommend it, but as long as it's just a short walk, like 2 or 3 minutes. But there's plenty of restaurants, like even right next door to the Marriott. And so usually at night, you kind of get a group together. People meet in the lobby, and then everyone goes for dinner, and then we just chat, and it's actually kind of social and fun. And then you're not really sick. It does sometimes give you a boost of energy. It can also sometimes make you really tired. So I felt like it's just because you're getting this whole cellular flush. And so, usually your cells turn over anyway about every 3 months. But this is kind of a rapid acceleration of that. One of the questions I get actually often is people say, there were these rumors early on with stem cells years ago that it was from aborted babies or fetal tissue. And that is not the case. It is not derived from that. It's actually taken from healthy placentas. And then it's basically harvested like a few generations in order to derive the cells from those. And so it's actually from the placentas. And it's actually a really interesting program. It's from women that give birth in Mexico City between the ages of 18 and I think 24. They have to be completely healthy. They basically watch them their entire pregnancy, and they even pay at the end. They pay their hospital bill if they are a good applicant, and then they even store some stem cells for the baby and the mother in case anything ever should happen and they need it. So it's actually a very amazing way to basically derive them. And again, there's no fetal tissue, nothing like that. And, so that's where that's derived from. Now, there are places in the States that are also doing stem cells in terms of cost. I remember a few years ago, probably about 8 years ago, I knew someone who did stem cells in the US. It's very hard to do. There's only very few places. Most of the time, they do not take insurance. But I remember at the time, they did a pretty invasive treatment for someone I knew. And I think it was between 80 and $100,000. So it was very pricey. At the clinic down in Mexico, for the 3 or 4 days that you're there, you're probably going to spend somewhere between $3,500 and $6,000. And so, and then the hotel rooms are about $100 a night. They give you a discount on those if you're at the clinic, and it's just like a regular Marriott. I mean, it looks just like it. And again, it's like $100 a night, and really nice accommodations. Um, so kind of terms of cost, that's what to basically expect. Now, my last bill, I'll just be very transparent, was about 5,500, but I did add in like a massage every day for 3 days, and then I did add in a few extra things as well. Like, I think I did a facial as well. So, and it was, a little bit more like a really good cleansing type one as well. And it did include some stem cells. So there's different treatments, and that has been amazing for me. So going back to the schedule, you have that during the day. Again, you meet with the doctor pretty much every day. They just kind of check in with you. You have a coordinator. It's very easy to get around if you do go by yourself. And then basically that's it. It's they schedule another appointment for you depending on the severity of what you have and how you feel. That's when you go back. So for some people that have had cancer and maybe have a very low immune system, they might go back in 3 months. For me, I went in 6 months and I felt incredible. And I'll get to that in a second. But the other thing I should mention is that the stem cells are in the IVs, but then they also do direct shots of stem cells. So where my knees are a little bit, I'm trying to avoid knee surgery basically. They give direct shots into some of the joints, and you feel almost immediate relief, like within, I'd say even that day. And so anyway, that's kind of how the treatments go. On probably another future podcast, I'll have one of my clinic friends that lives in Utah come on and kind of talk about their experience as well, just because I'm a real believer in it. So the first visit that I had, you know, basically, the way that they take you back over, I should kind of walk you through that system. The way they take you back over the border, even so, you kind of check out on your last day. They have a medical shuttle, and Tijuana is becoming a medical zone. I've actually seen other doctors down there. They have dentists. I just ordered a pair of eyeglasses for about half the price of what I would pay for, actually less than that. It was probably about a fourth of the price of what I would pay at Costco. And they're actually shipping them to me here in the US. So there's all sorts. They're kind of having a lot of hospitals down there, doctors, and these doctors are usually US trained. They are amazing in talking with them. It's been just it's been an amazing experience. And so that area is becoming very protected. They have military that is around kind of this whole area, a few miles. And then the way that they get you back over the border, because the border crossing there is the busiest border crossing in the world for any country. And so it is just insane. If you've been on the Tijuana side, you know what I'm talking about. Because I remember doing it years ago, and it was like 5 or 6 hours, to get back to the US. And so it's a lot. So now what they do is I call it a medical fast pass lane. I think they call it Easy Pass or Sentry. They have different signs for it. But at the end of your clinic visit, they put you back on a medical shuttle, and again, they arrange kind of everything. And they put you on there. They have a little pass, and it looks just like the carpool lane in Utah. If you've seen that, it looks like that. And then all of a sudden, there's some cement borders on it. So when you're in the medical van, you just stay in this lane. Again, there's like cement barriers on both sides, and you just go straight up to the border. And you get kind of in this special lane in order to cross. So as you're driving, you're just flying by all of the other cars waiting to cross the border. And they have a certain pass. Usually, they say plan to take about an hour and a half or 2 hours to get over the border, but that's a lot. I would say the longest time that I've ever spent, like, getting from the clinic to the San Diego airport is maybe an hour and 10 minutes. But I usually would say it's about 45 minutes, even just, slightly less than an hour. But then you kind of plan your plane trip. And again, they have shuttles going all day. And so then, you get to the airport, and then fly back. And so it's, and it was pretty funny because some of your clinic friends are on your Delta flight, basically going back as well. So anyway, that's kind of the experience. But I want to talk to you a little bit about the health benefits and things that I noticed and the changes I saw. So right away, I had significant improvement in just my joints, like my knees. It was just amazing. I get like sometimes migraine headaches, and I did some like direct shots into my neck, and because that's kind of where a lot of my migraines stem from. And so anyway, that like instant relief on those. And then within, I would say, the first week or two after receiving stem cells, you're a little bit tired, and like you just feel like you're kind of coming down with something a little bit, or you just need to go to bed a little bit earlier. My biggest regret the first time I went is that I didn't really know how I would feel, and I came home and had a very aggressive schedule right after that. So now what I try to do is when I go down there, I try not to travel for at least about a week or 2 weeks if I can, somewhere else, So like I'll just kind of try to have a lighter schedule, especially in the evenings, and try to get more sleep, more rest, more water, things like that. Taking electrolytes also is really important. And so, but right away, I noticed that some of my neck pain was gone. My knees felt better. And then I just remember just little side effects. Like, even, one thing I told a friend recently is I remember I'd had this little tiny dry patch of skin that nobody else would probably remember or see, but it just was kind of annoying. I just get once in a while a little hydrocortisone and just kind of put it on my kind of on my forehead up here. And I had it since I was like 8 years old. And I remember a few weeks after receiving the stem cells, all of a sudden I noticed it was gone. And I was just like, wait, what happened to this? And it's never come back. So it was just like, I don't know what happened. It just kind of my body regenerated, and it's been interesting to see the difference on my slides every time I've gone. So I just came back this last week from my third visit. So I went in January of 2024 for the first time. Then I went fall, and then I went back in February of 25. And so that I just finished my third visit. I feel really good. I'm still a little bit on the end of being tired, just because you kind of just, it's a lot for your body to process. But overall, I already feel a lot better. I'm to the point now where I actually have done a few blood tests recently, and I don't even test positive for rheumatoid arthritis right now, which is pretty wild and exciting. And so, anyway, but other people, they go back. I talked to someone who has Lyme disease. She's been going there for 8 years. And she said at first she had to go every 3 months. Then she spaced it to 6 months, 9 months, and then a year. And now she goes back every about 18 months. And one of the differences there that is pretty amazing is they're very wellness focused. So they basically even tell you, hey, if you're never back here again, if we cure you, we are happy. Like, we send us a postcard and, from some other place in the world saying, hey, I'm happy, I'm healthy, and things are good. And they said we would love more than anything to hear that. And the level of care you get. So, first of all, the clinic is just pristine. It is American standards and more. So, the clinic itself, like, people ask me, well, what is the clinic like? I think they have this maybe idea or stigma or something. And um, this clinic is like so impressive that it's more state of the art than most medical facilities I've seen in the States lately. So they have very new equipment. The way they handle everything is just very pristine, very clean and sanitary. The nurses, in fact, I always joke around and I just want to take one of them back with me because they're so sweet, so kind, just amazing. The level of quality and care you get there from just the staff is incredible. If you have any questions, they're happy to help, and so I really want to make sure that people realize. I mean, it is very clean, very American standards or higher, and just really amazing that way. So, and then I'm trying to think of the other questions I get. Most of the time, it's around how long. do you go between? And again, it's kind of a personal preference. For me, I am going to probably stick to 6 or 7 months. So this next time, I might stretch it one extra month and try to go 7 months, and just kind of see how that works. But my thought is eventually I'd love to be able to just go once a year. But if I'm going once a year and maintaining amazing health, then I am going to be very happy to continue doing that. And there was, like, again, other things to even do down there. There's other massage places. So like one of the times Brent came with me, and we just went out and had good food. We just kind of had a little mini vacation. And then we also we went and got massages. I think it was like $1 a minute per massage, so it was like $60 for 60 minutes. So we had a great time even just going down there. I've never envisioned going to Tijuana for like a vacation, but we kind of made the best of everything. So anyway, as far as physical signs, like, I can tell a difference already. Like, I can go up and down the stairs really easily. I just feel good. I feel like I look younger. The other thing it did is I think it's kind of rebooted my metabolism a little bit. I was able to flush off inflammation. And I've also been trying to just kind of take care of myself. And so in the last year, I've lost probably about 20 pounds. And I think that it did help with that a little bit, like, because after you have in kind of this treatment, you really are not craving sugars, you're not craving, and I didn't eat a lot of that before, but one of the things I do is I get really busy, like all of us, and we all stop and eat a lot of fast food or just quick things, and usually quick things are not healthy things. And so now it just kind of, I feel like, kind of rebooted my whole system that way. But I also have more energy now to go and exercise and do things, because I feel amazing. So, anyway, those are just kind of the basics about stem cells. I would read more about it. People have said, well, they're starting to offer them here in the States. From my understanding, and again, I'm not an expert in this, I can just tell you how I feel in my personal experience. But from what I understand in the States, there are very few places that have the same level of stem cells. It's very hard to do here, it's not easy. I know there's a few places opening up in Utah that say they do stem cells, but I'm not sure. I can't say to how that is in comparison. But it's definitely something worth exploring. I do think this is the future. There were, just to kind of share another story, when you're sitting in the IV room, it's one of the times you're like kind of more social, because you're in there with some other people. And I mean, I was by far, even in the current condition on my first visit, I was probably like, the one that didn't have as many problems. Like, I was trying to get ahead of rheumatoid arthritis, but I was in there with two people that had been in wheelchairs, that had been, pretty severely impacted with health problems. And they were men, and I remember they were telling us their stories, and they were crying, and they just said this has been like the most amazing life-changing experience for them. And both of them were walking. One of them had a little bit of a limp, but he said he was pretty much wheelchair bound, and he had had a back injury, but was able to kind of regenerate through the stem cells, and get feeling better. And he looked really pretty good. And so you kind of hear other people's stories in there. And again, I would say the most common ailments or things that I saw in there were kind of autoimmune issues, Lyme disease. There were actually some professional, like, bull riders, people that did professional rodeos or ranchers also in there. And then they're next to maybe an actor. You have people coming from Hollywood in there, and then CEOs of software companies. I've kind of met a whole range of people, and all ages, even. There were some younger kids, like, you'll actually see some families coming together, like grandma, grandpa, the kids, and sometimes even grandkids. And so there's kind of a whole range of people that go to the clinic. But I would encourage you just to go to the website. I'm planning on going down and doing an interview with Dr. Calzada at some point in the next coming months because this is something I feel really strongly about. And I've talked to some of my friends about it because for me, it's been a huge improvement. I feel great. I feel amazing, in fact. And so I will continue going. So that's kind of my story around stem cells. I hope that this episode was informational for you. And again, I'm not a doctor. I can't give medical advice or anything, but what I can do is just tell you my personal experience with it and things that I've seen. And so I'd encourage you to just go to the website, Bioadvanced Medical, and read a little bit more about them. And hopefully you'll tune in next time for the interview. And we will see you next time on High on Utah. Thanks so much. Bye bye.